Hello, peoples. This is Tracey at Talking with Tracey, the ride to self-love. It is Wednesday afternoon, and I'm coming on and doing an impromptu broadcast today. Had a conversation earlier today, and I thought it deserved having a conversation about. So here I am doing that. Hopefully we get some people on watching with us. I've got it set up now so that I should be able to see the comments both from the business page and from the personal page. So we'll try that out today. Anyhow, I'll tell you what it is that I'm on talking about today. So the conversation that I had earlier with some ladies was this. It was all women who were in recovery. And, we had sat around, we were just checking in with each other and whatever. And I had asked, what everyone was up to. And there's some healing things going on. There's some facilitating and some programs they're attending. But a lot of it was sitting around, to be really honest. And so that's fine. They're chilling. And that's what I was hearing. And what are you guys up to these days? So it's the answer that I was getting back. And we got talking on the self-love topic. Someone said something, we got into some difficult stuff. And I started talking about approaching it with self-love and coming at it from a place of self-love. And one of the ladies, when I was really talking about some stuff we talked about in the last episode about realizing, if we really recognize our own divine nature, that we're a child of the divine or a child of God, something along like recognize our divineness, that in itself should say to us, we should be treating ourselves well, just because of who we are. And they said, well, that's really great, but like, how do you do that? And that's what I'm there every week trying to help with, is giving tools on how to do that. And I said to them, I said, well, you can find it in a lot of places. You can find it in books. You can read books by like Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer, Elizabeth Gilbert, Carolyn Myss, Eckhart Tolle, Matt Kahn. I know people like Gabor Mate. I'm reading one of his books myself right now. Like there's literally a ton of books where people are trying to teach you how to be, better to yourself. There's podcasts, and I'm not just talking about mine, but if you go out into podcast world and do a search on love and self-love and stuff, there's a million podcasts out there too. So there's videos we can watch. There's books we can read. There's things we can do. What I said was, I can tell you where you're not going to find the answer. You're not going to find it scrolling on Facebook. You're not going to find it looking at memes. You're not going to find it flicking through Netflix. That's where you're not going to find the answer. And that's where you're not that is not where the answer to how do I learn to love myself is, When I started on the road to loving myself, I started doing things for myself, meaning things that made me happier. Like, I said today, I got into art, I got into drawing, I got into photography, I got into making jewelry, got into all sorts of things. And they don't have to be things that cost a lot of money. When I started out, I had $0. I was like, hitchhiking down in the US with no job, no money, and somehow I managed to find things to do. I was going out for a walk, I was getting exercise, I was doing yoga, doing all these things that didn't cost me any money, going to church and talking to other people who were spiritual. So, like, where you'll find the answers by going out and looking for it. Not just sitting there scrolling on Facebook, waiting for a meme to come across. A meme is not going to give you the answer to how to learn to love yourself. Let me tell you that. Love is an action word. We say that in regards to other people. Like if you really want to prove to me that you love me, well, it's an action word. You can't just say, I love you. When someone says to you, I love you, but then they smack you in the face afterwards, their actions are not really saying that they love you. Well, if I'm saying to me, I love me, but then I'm not doing anything and I'm not making choices that say I love me, and instead I'm making self-sabotaging choices, maybe getting back together with people that were no good for me, remaining in relationships where people treat me badly or take me for granted, going and hanging out with people who I did things with that were not really great for my health and not great for anyone, to be honest. Those are all, if I do make those self-sabotaging choices, I can say all day long, oh, I love me and I'm working on loving me. Love is an action word. So you go and you take some action. It's a verb. To love someone is a verb. So you got to go out and do something. When I was early on my journey, I read up Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. This was a book that I just gobbled up. I read it for the first time. I was hearing from someone else, basically bringing attention to how I was talking to myself in my head. And I was like, oh my God, she's right. I am talking badly to myself. And I did it for years, working on affirmations, learning how to say new statements like, I am beautiful, I'm intelligent, I'm creative, I'm thoughtful, I'm strong, I'm brave, I'm courageous, I'm capable of overcoming huge obstacles, I'm a good friend, I'm a good person. And even if I didn't believe those things, I wrote them down on paper and I said them over and over and over again, and not for a couple of weeks. Learning how to love ourselves is not going to happen in a couple of weeks. It's not going to happen from looking at memes on Facebook. It's not going to happen from watching movies and videos and sitting around and not focusing on ourselves. It took healing. It took going out and digging into the places where I was hurt. You know, I love my store. I love what I do. Everything in my store is a part of my own healing journey. And they were things that helped me. So let's say amethyst. Let's take amethyst for an example. It's something I sell in my store. Amethyst is the stone of sobriety. So when I was getting clean and sober, I didn't just stick a piece of amethyst in my pocket and say, well, there we go, the problem's solved. The piece of amethyst in my pocket reminded me of the things I needed to do to help myself get clean and sober. That's what the piece of amethyst was. So I can't sell you something that for 20 cents or $2 is going to cure your problems for you, but I can offer you something that will hopefully help you to trigger what it is that you're working on. So what I had to do was I had to go to meetings and I had to get together with other sober people and I had to learn a whole new way of life and I had to get into art and crafts and all sorts of things so that I could keep myself busy instead of going out and having a drink. That's what I had to do. You're not going to come in and get the answer to your problems in a $2 stone or a $500 stone. Hopefully that $2 stone, though, will remind us of why I'm carrying it. You know, oh yeah, I'm making decisions now that say I love me. I'm working on being clean and sober. I'm trying to work on my addictions. So this will remind me to read a book, to do a meditation, to do some yoga, to do some breathing exercises, to find some tools that will help me with becoming a new me, a version of me who has coping tools, you know, that are healthy, because that's loving myself. Loving myself is finding new tools and doing the work. And why do I want to do the work? Because I want more peace. I was praying every day for more peace. Well, peace doesn't just land on you. Peace is a choice. I can live in a completely chaotic world and still have peace. Be in the calm in the center of the storm by choosing to be the peace. And that didn't happen in my life overnight. And I'm not saying that I'm always 100% peaceful, but I am saying I'm a heck of a lot more peaceful than I was. And I got it by doing yoga and by going for walks and by learning how to meditate and by getting calm and centering and playing with my crystals and all of this stuff. Like, I did new and different things. Yeah, love is an action word. So, you know, when someone's there trying to teach you how to meditate and someone's teaching you, you know, shamanism or shamanic work or taking you on a journey, or someone's teaching you about affirmations and someone's teaching you about, you know, all of these tools, and they're coming in every week and teaching you all these tools, and then you're not using them and you say, yeah, well, how do I learn how to love myself? By doing something with all of that. Actually do it. Journal about it. Read about it, watch videos about it, read books about it, whatever. You know, I am saying this from my heart. I absolutely love people in recovery, and I love people who are trying to find a way out of the trauma. And I'm telling you, the way out of the trauma takes work for all of us. And I'm not just talking about people who have addictions. I'm talking about people who have trauma in their background, and because of that have unhealthy relationships, have unhealthy coping skills, are involved in unhealthy relationships with people, codependency, all kinds of things like that. You know, so many people have these things because of stuff that happened in their past. We can overcome that. But we don't get that handed to us on a silver platter. I'm not going to say that it's hard, but I'm not going to say that it happens overnight either. It takes work and it takes commitment. If I'm going to say I love me, I have to take, you know, action. I have to take action to prove that, yes, I do. I'm seeing some comments over here on the side. Mandy says, thank you for the beautiful work that you're doing. Thank you for the beautiful work that you're doing as well, Mandy. I appreciate everything you do. Hi, Faye. It's nice to see you. Carrie says, This is what Carrie says. Carrie says, yes. Yeah, I guess Carrie gets it. Love is an action word. I'm saying this truly from a place of love. Sometimes you have to shoot from the hip. Like if you're looking for the easy answer, I'm not going to be the person that gives you an easy answer or makes you feel good about the fact that you aren't doing anything. I'm not going to make you feel bad about the fact that you aren't doing anything either, but I'm going to point out that that's the reason why change isn't happening, because you aren't doing anything. And love the one. So there you go. So now I realize that I'm the one who isn't doing anything. All right. Put my hands over my heart. I love the one who's just getting by each day. I love the one who hasn't had any energy to put into myself, to put into new tools. I love the one who is trying to find the energy to look into new tools and to find new tools. I love the one who has the willingness to be open to some new ideas and some new tools. It's okay if I didn't do anything today, and it's okay if I didn't do anything yesterday. I'm not going to be hard on that person. I'm not going to be hard on me for that. However, the only way I've come to a place where I can stop myself and slow down and have this conversation with myself where I say that I love the one who didn't do it is because I have put work in hour after hour after hour after weeks after months after years of work into learning how to treat myself differently. So I know how to stop myself now when I'm putting myself down and say, all right, I love you. You know what? I didn't get up today. I didn't do anything. I sat and scrolled on Facebook, and I do that. I waste an incredible amount of time on Facebook, and I love the one who does that. And I also recognize that it's self-sabotaging behavior when I do that and I have other things to do. There are times that I need downtime. I don't need downtime all the time, and I certainly can't justify the amount of hours I put into looking at people's funny memes and just sitting there and laughing. All right, I'm going to take another look here to the side. I'm beginning to understand on my journey. I think I'm beginning to understand on my journey, says Mandy. That's great. Whatever you're having realizations about, Mandy, that's awesome. That's fantastic. I know that you're putting the work in, and that's what we all have to do is put the work in with ourselves. So, Faye says, I needed to hear this today. Whatever it was that you needed to hear, I'm glad that you were able to hear it, Faye. That's why I'm coming on and doing this stuff, is I'm hoping to reframe stuff. I'm hoping to rephrase it maybe in a way that we can listen and hear it, Sometimes we need to hear it. So like today, that was my big thing was just that whole conversation just made me go, yeah, like we have to take action. Love is an action word. So read a book. Watch a video by someone who's talking about self-love or new tools or codependence or whatever it is that you're working on yourself. Go find something to read or listen to a speaker. Go find something that you can do on that, or do an activity that says, I love me. Like do some arts and crafts, or do some yoga, or do some martial arts, or go for a walk. Do something that says, I love me, either working on ourselves or just being good to ourselves mentally, which is what, when we go out and we exercise and stuff, that's mentally good for us. And it gets endorphins going and it helps us to feel better, especially if we're feeling depression, sad, whatever. Getting the endorphins going by going outside really helps incredibly. It's amazing the difference in how we can feel if we're down and we're in a funk right now. The difference between how I feel when I'm sitting in my living room in a funk, and if I'm in a funk and I force myself to go out into the woods or go out into nature and just sit by some water or whatever, the difference in how the funk feels when I'm out in nature doing something. So force myself to get up off my butt, take some action, and do something that makes me feel better today. That was the activity part and the exercise part. So I was always a walker. I didn't get a car till I was 42. I will tell you, in my own recovery, like when I was learning new tools and stuff, that was a big one for me for switching, because I was on antidepressants for a number of years, and I was clinically depressed and chronically depressed for well over a decade, like really badly. And exercise and getting outside was a huge part of that shifting, I changed how much sugar I took in because sugar did this with my energy system, just up and down, up and down. Sugar wasn't good for it. Caffeine wasn't good for it. Alcohol wasn't good for it. Smoking dope wasn't good for it. All those things were not good for it. But exercise really helped because it got my endorphins going and stuff like that. I would walk for hours and hours and hours when I first started healing, and it helped so much, and I did it when I didn't even want to. I would just get out and do it because it was better than feeling sorry for myself at home. Jen says, I'm dealing with the recent loss of my husband and finding it so hard to care about myself. And so I am so sorry, and my condolences for your loss, Jen, truly. I'm so sorry that you're going through that and experiencing that right now. And when we're hurting and when we're sad, it is most important that we be gentle with ourselves. Gentleness is the word, Jen. So gentleness means not judging yourself for whatever you do to get through this moment right now. It means being gentle. Like, I love the one who just wants to sit at home right now and cry, or I love the one who needs to go and try to ignore it by going and hanging out with some friends, whatever you're needing to do right now to help yourself with that, Jen. That's what I recommend. Totally be on your own part. If anyone says to you, oh, well, you should be over it by now, or, oh, this will pass, or they're in a better place now, that's not a very comforting and correct thing to say. The correct thing is to just hold space. And so you should hold space for yourself. Holding space for yourself means giving yourself the space to do whatever you need to do in this moment right now while you're grieving, and that it takes a different amount of time for everyone. Those waves of grief come in different for everyone. It looks different for everyone. You know better than anyone else what you need to do for you. And so you be gentle with yourself in that process. That's my greatest thing that I can say to you. Hold space for yourself, because if I was with someone who was grieving, I would hold space for them. And so that's what we do for ourselves, is hold space for ourselves, which means allow us to be wherever we're at in that moment. So that's I think what I have to say. I see an angry face somewhere up there on my when I'm looking at what's going on in my conversations. I hope I haven't made anyone angry today. That certainly was not my wish to make anybody angry. However, you know what? If someone did get angry by me saying that love is an action word, I'm okay with that. I didn't get to where I am on my self-love journey by trying to take the easy road. The amount of work that I put in, and the amount of work the people who I know who have changed their life and really taken it from a place of tragedy and trauma to a place of success and triumph, are the people who put a lot of work into themselves. And by work into themselves, I mean paying attention to how you feel, self-awareness, healing those old wounds, getting down to the triggers. And we'll talk about all these different things in detail in different episodes. But today I just wanted to talk about this idea of taking action. You changing your thoughts is part of it, and you can do the changing your thoughts on your couch. But some of it requires, I read so many books on my healing journey, and I watched videos of people, I used to love watching Matt Kahn's videos is one that comes in particular. I loved reading Eckhart Tolle's books. So I was reading what other great thinkers had to say about how to change the way you think, how to change your mind, how to move from depression into non-depression. And the answers really are out there if we're willing to read about it, learn about it, and go out and seek it out. Okay? So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope that someone got something useful out of this conversation that we had today. Charlene says, take your day 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, what works for you. And that's good advice for Jen there. And that's always good advice for anyone who's struggling. When we're struggling in the moment, doing something or not doing something is not the most important thing. The most important thing is to get through the moment. If that's all we ever do is just staying in this moment of struggle, it could be a long time staying in the moments of struggle if at some point we don't do something to help ourselves, get to a support group, get to talk to other people, get to read some books, do something that helps us to process what it is that we're feeling. There's lots of things that can help us to process. Even just doing artistic crafts, like anything creative, can help us to process what we're feeling. So take the time to figure out the things like that you like to do, that you want to do, that you're interested in, and start following those things. When we become interested in something, like a little bit of passion gets ignited within us, and we see something in a book and we're like, yeah, this is exactly how I feel. That's fantastic. And that gets us reading more, and it gets us going down some other rabbit hole where we read other things that we need to hear that can help us. And we start to find more tools and more tools, because one author leads to a next, or one video cast leads to a next, or whatever. But yeah, like search and seek out those things that make you feel good when you do them, read them, see them, act with them, whatever. All right. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. I hope that all of you have a wonderful day. I appreciate you for coming on to onto the podcast today and saying hi to me, folks. Giving you a big hug. I want you to feel that hug. I want you to feel the love from me. I want you to send some love to yourself. Say, I love me. And do that 20 times a day. Tell yourself you love yourself 20 times a day. And especially when you're struggling, and especially if you catch yourself saying bad things or negative things to yourself, say, I love me. All right. Everyone be well, and please be good to yourselves.